I guess I forgot. Yeah. My mistake. I dropped it.
With general, obviously I wouldn't know your name or kids,
Yeah, no, you wouldn't know unless we tell you. You're right.
Yeah, so you sent it to me. I'll put it up. We haven't talked about it.
When you're driving tomorrow.
Hasn't been that bad. I haven't bugged you 3 times a day. And I know you have people who do.
I like to, I would tell you. So you have no idea. I have a lady right now. I do a lot of special needs people who are moms. And this mom's 80, her daughter's probably 50, balancing a lot of health problems. Her daughter died in the vehicle. Her daughter's son said, look at this. The state really took it on my tail about 2 weeks ago. But they're really hard to fix with electronic now. And I don't want her ID $100 for 5 months.
Sure.
I talked to her yesterday.
She
was like, well, anything on the bottom I can't change.
Yeah.
I've had people put, they put cancer down the person that part of it, whatever. I can't do the bottom. I can't even get on it. The doctor does. I do the top. I do the vital social security date of birth. I made mistakes, but I can fix it.
And you probably encountered some family members that are almost like they just can't do it. Can't bring themselves to do it. It's hard.
I cremated the parents, same deal. One sister died in that 2 nickels. One girl every state was trying to pitch in. I sent a little money in the bank. There you go. My sister died. Send it to the first year. You live at 4 miles away. I'll drive you your house.
How you doing? Thank you. And to you as well. To you as well.
So about 3 weeks later, she finally came in and signed it.
We're going to sit down and chat. Yeah, you guys go up front. We'll sit back here. Well, you guys all sit and we'll show that. All right.
We're ready to start.
I think you're going to us.
I'll ask you first. Before you ask you.
Of course. Yeah, he goes first.
Or you go first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just asked him.
He wants us to go first.
The one on the left.
Can we get a prayer card?
Yes. Then there's one in the wedding album with Mommy and Daddy. And, oh, thank you very much. I did.
You know, raise your walk.
Yeah, I took a couple. I'm going to give so much to Kristen.
And I gave Bill about it. I give these to Bill too.
And Kristen sent her condolences, everybody, for your mom. She sent
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going right here. Well, he's not going to look at it. That's
Did you see this one of you again?
I'll make sure it doesn't lose.
Which one?
Jackie.
What we're going to do is Father asked for Jack and Bill to go first. We're going to tape this and put it on our website. Father's going to have a service. We'll tape that. Then we'll conclude Father's service part, and then Father may say some words, but he has to please remain until obviously what he's done. Wherever Jack and Bill are ready.
Bill said he didn't make it, so I'll say. He's a building.
Yeah, well, it's a smaller. I've been here where I have no seating capacities.
He's a lawyer.
Here, I'll show you one with the one.
She looks just like a little mini Christmas. Especially her eye. Oh, look how cute.
She said every time they say prayers at night, when they say prayers at night, she laughs. So she, wait, there's one. Here's her eating. Yeah, she's really got the cheeks and stuff. Here's her jumping. She loves to jump in her little jumper. So yeah, so this is what we do.
Actually, it's where the warm weather now for there.
I know, yeah, this is the one with their little chair.
They had a lot of stuff for her already.
They do, yeah, they have gotten a lot. And they got so then there's person, you know,
Like your son.
How are they making out there?
So far, good. They opened up Alaska last year, last week. Fully. About 750 cases. Yeah, maybe like, I think up to 20 deaths. Yeah, you know, I mean, the population. What's that? Exactly, yeah. So, you know, so far, so good.
Nobody social distancing.
She's doing the online at home. She's not the BFW. She's doing like at home, you know, working at her home stuff, you know. So far it's working out, you know. Scott's schedule, they shortened his schedule because I guess there's not as much, but they extended as long as they're going to be there. They were supposed to leave in September or October, and they extended them to December. I can't see until December. Earliest December.
Otherwise, it might get him.
And then when does he find out? Usually 6 months?
I think somewhere like that. Something. I think she said up until June. Well, so it's May. So hopefully in the next, within the next month or something, you know. So,
Okay.
yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully. I hope so.
So when you guys got out?
It was just in the nick of time. If it was one more week later,
The day after we got out.
closed up, shut down.
It's kind of scary because you're on the airplane with everybody else, not knowing.
I guess with you,
Yeah, we didn't know, but
We already OCD, wiping everything.
yeah, we were cross clean up, so we were wiping all the surfaces, the tray, the arms, the seat. Yeah, so we were like trying to be as cautious as we could, because it was even before we shut down. So it was still like in its infancy of what was happening, right? So,
You're right.
so now how long will your study last? Could it be a couple months?
It's okay.
16 months. So it would take that long.
There's a microphone if you need it.
I think we'll be okay.
Just make sure you're on camera, so you know the podium.
She's working on a project at work. Oh, you
No, as long as I'm standing behind the podium, I'm okay.
Just started, literally. We just got the award lady, first person.
Are you guys an award? No, her work.
Just
Not
got, they got the
award.
contract.
It's not,
They got $25 million to do stuff.
you know, it's not like.
What's the name? I'm not gonna run my stuff. In OVO. That's totally not just.
Did you get the shot? No,
No, it's good.
Yeah, see that, I wanna go ahead and-
Doing a study.
she's studying, like doing this research.
Yeah. So it's 18.
Of course, yeah.
We'll follow them for.
No, we're very compliant.
Reactions to it.
That's hurtful.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Every company's got something going on with them, which is nice. So scary.
So then somebody will turn the video off
Yeah.
after Jack and I finish.
Yes, absolutely.
Just, I don't want to get in any
You're right.
awkward position.
Did I told him I was being, I didn't tell him. You want to start this or you want?
Jen,
Are we all here?
Jen, you said that move on. It's only
So you're gonna have Bill
us.
speak, and Jack, and then that'll be available. Father service is going to be private as per the request of the church. Bill?
Thank you all for coming. Diana will be greatly missed. Diana was born, as most of you know, September 23rd, 1943, in Philadelphia. Her parents were Krikor DeMirjian, and her mother was Melinat Alzikian DeMirjian. Both of her parents were born in Ottoman Turkey, and in various degrees went through some of the disorders and very difficult problems at the end of World War I. They both arrived in the U.S. In the 1920s. Did not know each other. They met in Philadelphia. And Diana told me that her father's, if not first job, one of his first jobs was working for another man, an Armenian man, who had a store that sold candy, cigarettes, tobacco, and sundries. And that's why he went into that business when he went out on his own. So Diana's early memories, their grandmother lived with them, and she always spoke very fondly of her grandmother. There are photographs, I'm not sure if we have them here, but there are photographs of her grandmother. Resembled her mother somewhat. And her grandmother was actually born in Georgia, in Tbilisi, in Georgia. And her grandmother died when Diana was about 8 years of age. So Diana attended, I know Simon Muir was one of the elementary schools in her area that she went to. And there's another one who's, if I heard the name I'd remember, but I can't think of the name of the other elementary school. Their house it was common for a lot of families, not everybody, but for a lot of families after church would come to their store, because the house was at the store, above it and behind it. And they would, socialize and congregate. Diana's Aunt Susan and the other DeMirjian family, no relation, and some other people would come there as well. The other thing Diana told me about her childhood is that there was I believe it was just a family friend, like a close friend of her mother, but as is often the case, she called her Aunt Clara, but I don't think she was a blood relative. So she would sometimes, on the way home from school when she was little, she said like 6 or 7 years old, would practically walk by this Aunt Clara's house, and she would go into her house, or the lady would be waiting for her, kind of like halfway between school and home, that kind of stuff. Of course, she remembered helping her parents a lot with the store. And one of the cute things she would tell me is that her girlfriends, neighbors and all that, all her girlfriends wanted to play store. They wanted, like on a Sunday, let's say things were either closed or quiet, they wanted to come over to the store and play store at Diana. And Diana was like, at that point in the week, she was like done with the store, like let's go somewhere else. So she mentioned that several times. Of course, another early important figure in her life was her mother's sister, who she called Mora, Aunt Mora. And Mora, as many of you may know, had a disability. Not exactly sure what, but it was a pretty serious walking disability. So I'm sure she walked it sometime when she was younger, but she was almost always either in a wheelchair or helped. And I knew Mora. Mora died in '94, I think it was. So, and that was an important figure in her early life. So, of course, she was raised with her 3 brothers, with Gilbert, who was about 15 years older than Diana, Edmund, who was about, I'd say maybe 11 years older, and George, who was about 9 years older. So she was the little kid and the only girl. They would protect her if she got any scrapes or anything. Not sure. Diana may have gone to, I think she may have gone to Stetson Junior High School. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's in that area. But more importantly is there was a period when her parents bought the house in the Northeast on Vista Street, near Cotman and Lodge, as obviously the nieces and nephews know. And but there was, from what Diana told me, there was at least a 5, maybe even a 10-year period when they continued to operate the store, and they had their primary residence in the Northeast on Vista Street. And Diana told me there was times, maybe it was good, maybe there were times not so, where she felt like she was, sort of by herself sometimes, because mom and dad were down at the store doing stuff. Diana's father had a serious stroke. I believe it was around 1964. So, Diana was not a child. It was actually a year before she got married, before she married Jack's father. But he was disabled in a wheelchair, I think, for about, I'm going to say, Gil and the others might remember more, I'm going to say maybe 4 or 5 years, and then had a second serious stroke that took his life. But so there was a period of time when she had a lot to deal with helping her mother and father and all that. Diana went to Northeast High School, and I remember her telling me that she felt just a little bit like an outsider. I know this happens often, because it seemed like all the girls at Northeast had all gone to junior high school together, and maybe no, they all knew each other from years before, whereas Diana felt like she was one of the new kids. But as you can imagine, it did not take her long to work her way into the right, social circles and made friends and all that kind of stuff. And I think her years at Northeast were pretty good. Diana was the salutatorian of her graduating class at Northeast, which is, as you may know, valedictory, of course, is usually the #1 academic student that gives a speech. And the salutatorian, I guess it's a combination of, good grades, activities in school, school spirit, all, I guess general likableness, some popularity aspect there. And so she gave us the other speech at her high school graduation. She remembers her mother being very proud about that. Diana went to Pierce Junior College after Northeast, and majored in business because it was primarily a business school. I forget exactly. It was a part secretarial, part academic program. She met her good friend Carlene, who many of you may have met. Carlene Deemer was her maiden name, from South Jersey, and they remained close friends lifelong to this day. I still talk to Carlene now, especially with what's been going on. Diana took a trip that she always spoke very fondly of with a couple of her aunts and a couple of cousins and others. It was an AGBU trip, Armenian General Benevolent Union, a cultural organization, and they went to France, they went to Italy. I'm not sure about Switzerland. I think they were gone 3 full weeks. So she went on that trip was Aunt Selma, who most of you either met or heard of, Aunt Siervart, who was, if you've heard talk of Nora, who lives in Florida, and sadly, we just heard within a few days that Nora's husband Greg passed away. He was close to 90, I think. Very nice guy, very nice man, from Iran originally, his family. She spoke of that trip very fondly. I don't remember her first job out of school, but she told me a couple things. That the one that stood out more was she worked for I might say this incorrectly, but like a film and video place. And the guy's name was Ralph Lopayton. And he was sort of a character known in Philadelphia for being a good businessman, good at what he did, but like difficult person, a little rough around the edges. And but she was a relatively young kid, 19 or something. And so everybody else kind of even protected her and treated her very well, she said. And I think Lopayton is where she met Jack's father, I'm pretty sure. And so she was there for, I guess, a year and a half, maybe 2 years, something like that. When I met Diana, we worked at the same company, a real estate firm, Lenard and Axelbund. Most of you have probably heard the story or heard of it. But before that, I know Diana worked for a big insurance agency in Wynwood or Narberth called BCA. And there was a crowd of gals that they kind of ran around and all that stuff because she was on her own at that point. She was separated. So, divorced, and so she spent some time with some of them. I met a few of those people just later on. So that we met in 1980, summer of 1980 at Leonard and Axelbund. We liked each other right away. I'm not going to say we were like thunderstruck and fell on the floor, but we liked each other right away. And then as time goes on, we just kind of got to know each other. And you make excuses to walk by their desk, the whole silly office thing. And so we got to know each other that way. I'm trying to think what else I remember from some of those early years. So Jack, believe it or not, was 14 years old when we met. And I'm sure he eyed me up quite skeptically at first, I have no doubt. But all I can say is whatever misgivings he may have had in those early years, he kept them to himself, and I thought we always got along very well. I remember, we just had some normal, guy fun, you know, playing frisbee in the street or doing stuff like that. Normal stuff that you do. Diane and I took Jack up to, Jack, as most of you know, went to summer camp at Camp Newborn, an Armenian summer camp in the Catskills in upstate New York, Andes, New York, if I recall. And he, as you can imagine, Jack loved that. He looked forward to it, and I think he was there for minimum 3 weeks each summer, maybe even 4. Or more.
Sometimes a lot more.
Well, later on, Jack became like a counselor. He was a CIT, counselor in training, and then maybe a full counselor, and that almost involved the whole summer. But I'm thinking like when we first met, and we drove him up and all that. And actually, it's through doing that that I got to know that section of upstate New York. I'd never been there before. Woodstock, New York, and some of those other areas around there, which were very cool. So after Leonard and Axelbund, Diana worked for FMC, which is like a big, it's a big company. Now headquartered in Philadelphia just recently. The whole time Diana worked there, they were headquartered in Chicago. But it was basically a very good administrative assistant secretarial job for one of the top people there. And they had great benefits and all that. And I benefited in some ways from it. Diana, as you know, was very shrewd, jarby, the Armenians would say, about, you know, like if there was some event we could attend, if there was some benefit, something we could do, you know, we would do it. and she was very good about that. And she did it in a smooth, classy way. It wasn't like anybody would point and say, wait a minute, she's been at every event for the last, you know, she knew when to, you know, enough was enough. And actually through Diana, I met several of the people at FMC and remember some of them well. Passed them on the street sometimes downtown, and they remember. After FMC, Diane worked at the Warwick, the hotel at 17th and Locust, and sort of the same situation there. And that's when she really developed her kind of really found what she wanted to do. She started out doing really just selling room nights. You know, like booking room nights from like a convention or somebody would come in and needed 30 rooms for 4 nights or something like that. But then she knew people, of course, in the catering end, and she knew right away. She couldn't change it on her own, but she knew right away that that's what she wanted to do. So then, so she left the Warwick around, I'm going to say around 1990 or 91, and she was home. I'm glad she had that break, because I think she enjoyed that a lot. She was home for about 7 or 8 years. I mean, she did a couple things part-time here and there, but nothing week in, week out full-time. And then in 98, I believe it was, she went to work at the Union Room. And that was in catering sales. And she liked the work very much, as we all encounter often. Some of the people that she had to deal with made it difficult sometimes. But she enjoyed that, so she was there. She was there about 12 years, until about 22. One thing I remember she did, Diana always had a love of, just generally, of things like pertaining to France, things French and Paris. So I remember this had to be in the mid-'80s. There was she either saw the sign or she heard about it, and so she took French classes at, it wasn't Berlitz, it was a smaller place downtown. And so maybe one evening a week, I don't think 2, one evening a week she would stay an extra hour and a half and go and take these French classes and all that kind of stuff. And so, and indeed, we went back to France in 1990 and had a real nice time. We actually knew people who lived there, who were from there, who lived here, and kind of encouraged us to go and all that kind of stuff. It worked out very well. We traveled, as most of you probably know, we traveled a little bit. Some might say more than we should have, but we enjoyed it, and it was a good thing. And Diana enjoyed, I think, all the trips that we took, and it was a lot of fun. that's really the most important thing. After raising Jack, and he was on his own and doing well and completely independent, was helping raise, if I can put it that way, Stephen and Patrick. They were the absolute jewel of Diana's life. She loved me dearly. Helped take care of them when they were young. I can still remember, so I just remember it was so funny. There was a not very long period, a few months, when Stephen was a baby. I mean, really an infant. Michelle went back to work. And so Michelle, before she would go to work, she would drop Stephen off. I just remember it was always so cute, especially if it was raining, but even if it was not, I would make sure that the one side of the garage was empty and the garage door was open, and like if it was raining, so Michelle could pull right in, and pull out this little dude practically in a shoebox and bring him inside and all that stuff. It was pretty fun. And then Patrick as well, same thing. I owe Jack and Michelle a lot for our being in their lives as much as we were growing up. So it's a great thing. It's a great thing. So I guess that's about it. I think Diana enriched the lives of everyone. She'll be missed. She'll be missed.
Wow. I don't know how organized I'm going to be here, so I do apologize. Right off the get-go. Obviously, Bill talked a lot about a lot of aspects of my mom's life. I guess I'll start out with my earliest memories. It's weird putting these collages together. I did that yesterday as well. And going through pictures, it's just humorous, obviously, with some of these pictures. How much she did for me. You can see how much work she put into things. Every birthday was like a big party, obviously. My cousins were there, thank you. It's neat to see you guys as we were children. And obviously growing up with you guys, being not too far from Morel Park from where I grew up. And obviously your parents babysitting me a lot, and you guys helping out. And it's just really neat, it's weird now. At 53 years old, you look back and you go, wow. I had a really full life. And I look at my mom and go, she had a full life. I know, dying at 76 is not good. Obviously the way she died too. But I try to be optimistic. I've been using that word a lot recently in my life. And it's true. There's a lot of people that don't have a full life. A lot of people who grew up in worse circumstances. And, I was fortunate to grow up with two great parents, a great stepfather, a great family, cousins, aunts and uncles, grandparents from both sides, my father. It was a great way to grow up, and she spent a lot of time. I don't think she worked for how many years. She stayed at home. She was a stay-at-home mom with me. I have a lot of memories, coming. Thank God she wasn't strict. Thank you, Mom. Too much with the schoolwork and stuff, but she was always there. She had my back. She didn't beat me up too much, and she was there when I would come home from school. She was there, and I remember that until I guess like elementary school. I think that's when she went back to work. I was like in 5th and 6th grade after we moved to Abington. I had a little bit more freedom in my life because she was working in Philadelphia, and I think that was probably FMC, right? Or before that. I apologize for the dates. before I'm looking at you, Bill. When was that?
When we met,
I was 14, so this
you were in
before-
ninth. You were in ninth grade.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'll go back to, I'll get to that part. Because he turned out to be pretty damn good, I gotta say. For a stepfather, he's one heck of a guy, and I know he was a great husband. And I'll say that in a minute. But anyway, so growing up, it was a great life. And my mom did, as I said, give me some freedom. I kind of, had to do things on my own, because at that point of her life, she was a single mom. My dad had started another life, and she was kind of on her own. She was driving to Philadelphia from Abington, taking care of a big house with me. I tried to do as much as I could with her. And, it was a great life. I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of opportunities. She did things for me, got me to camps, and did a lot of cool stuff. So that I will say, was a great upbringing up to a certain point. And then I guess I'll cut all the way up to pick up where Bill comes in. I'm 14 years old. Yeah, it was weird. He was definitely younger than my mom. It was somebody that no one ever came to our house. My mom was dating some people here and there, but nothing was serious. I never liked any of them. I did like him from the get-go. I didn't really show him as much as I probably should have, looking back. But it was a great start. And when they started living together, and then they got married, and that it just got better and better. And he really made her happy. That's the one thing that marriage is about. And he was always there for her. And they had a great life together. I know she appreciated it. We used to talk a lot, especially as she got older and she retired. And I was traveling a lot. Michelle and I traveled a lot. The kids and I traveled a lot. We went on vacation, and she was always like, "Make that a priority. You have to enjoy yourself. Because one day that's coming, like it is now." And certainly we did, and continue to do it. And I hope all you guys do, because one day, you can have as much money in the world. Doesn't mean anything. The memories you have right now are very important. So anyway, I'm trying to get to a bunch of things here. I apologize again. I'm going to talk about my upbringing in the church, in the Armenian church, because that is something that was always important to me, but it's been more important in the last couple of years. I grew up in Armenian church, Holy Trinity. I was baptized there, went there until pretty much my parents got divorced. And at that point, my mom kind of stopped going to church, and at that point, I wasn't driving, of course. And then I stopped going, and it hurt, because I was very, very active in the Armenian community, even though I was only half Armenian. And back then, almost everybody was completely Armenian. I was kind of like the weird-looking kid with blue eyes and freckles, but it was everybody accepted me in the church. And joking aside, my grandmother was there. I mean, Gil and I talk about it once every couple months. He remembered, he has dreams about, grandma being there in the pew, right? Yeah. It's so cool. I mean, I have so many fond memories of all the old, back then everybody was old, because I remember staying with my grandmother. She watched me at 3650, at Vista Street, and we used to walk to church because she didn't drive, and if my mom wasn't picking up on her to go to Armenian church, she dragged me to the Catholic church, which was, I guess, across the street. It was like right across the street.
Close.
I think it was right across the street. But then afterwards, we would go say hi to like two Armenian ladies. Like, I felt like back then it was miles. Especially for an old lady. For me, it wasn't a big deal. You'd hump it, and hot, whatever it was, and she'd bring them fruit or whatever it was, or just to check up and say hi. And she did that. That, again, all that stuff comes back to you now as you get older. And it was just a great experience. And I know a lot of you, my cousins here, experienced that with them as well. And going to breakfast after church, shut egg and cheese. I served at the church too as an altar bearer for, 6 years, something like that. Went to Sunday school, Merle Sanitarian's place. We had Sunday school. It was really cool. But again, getting back to my mom, it's not about me. She was there. She took me to these places. She got me involved. And she always propped me up to do the best I could. And she did. And, you know, it's... Anyway, I want to talk about something that came up yesterday when we ordered flowers. This is kind of an ironic thing. So we see these beautiful flowers here. Bill and I talked, you know, we were going to order flowers. Bill says, I'm going to call Blake. And Blake Flores has been in church. John Implementation started it, been around how many years? 50?
Probably, yeah.
Probably 50 years,
Probably.
okay? So I call up. John passed away years ago, and this guy, Phil, took over. What's Phil's last name?
McGee.
Phil McGee.
Not very Armenian.
If you're listening, he's always been good to the Armenian church, to our community. They're right in Rockland.
He's good.
So I talked to him. I hadn't talked to him in probably about 10 years. All the other times we order flowers, Michelle's nice enough to do it. Thank you. And he, you know, right away he said, "I'm really sorry about your mom." And I said, "Well," I said, "You know," I said, "I'm not exactly." I said, "I know some of the things she liked." He goes, "I already got it taken care of." He's like, "After I talked to Bill, I remembered exactly what your mom liked." I'm like, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "Remember, she worked here." And I'm like, "I totally forgot." And I said, and now back then, I don't know how many years ago this was, but she was interested in kind of in the catering business, and she was always doing stuff at church. She always cooked at home and did really cool stuff like that. But she wanted to start doing flowers, and she's worked for John Multiplication, and she worked with Helen, Mary, Janie, and Rosemary from the church. And I guess she did it on the holidays to start, to make some extra money, and to learn really too. But then she did it, you know, she did it where she would help with, you know, putting packages together for people, and started to get more into like the planning stuff with people. And I think that's where she learned her trade to get into sales and catering later, because she knew so much about flowers, and she had a good eye for all that stuff. But it's just funny. So I'm on the phone with this guy, and he goes, "Yes." I'm like, "It's totally ironic, and here, you know, we're getting flowers for her funeral." So it was very ironic and happy at the same time. But I did want to say that because I totally forgot about all that. Anyway, I guess before I talk about Bill, I want to say how much obviously she's done for me. She's done a lot for Michelle. She had a great relationship with her. And, you know, as you go by, you go, well, hopefully they're getting along. Of course, you know, it wasn't always perfect, and it wasn't always perfect with Michelle and Mom. And, you know, obviously, we just lost Angela a couple weeks ago. Actually, the day we buried Angela, I came back to the house. I got a phone call that my mom died. So I mean, you know, a week difference, right? Like 5 days. And I had a really good relationship with her too. And but Mom was really good to Michelle. And then, of course, on top of all that, you know, we had kids. 2 beautiful kids, great kids. And it really changed my mom. Changed Bill, I think, too, as you noticed. You know, I was this kid, which was sure a pain in the butt for many years. So these guys were new, and you know, he kind of shaped them a little bit more. It really did. He did a great job with them. He spent a lot of time, read to them, talked about history, all kinds of things. My mom and Dad took them a lot of places. You know, we were able to, you know, they were both at that time that they afford to do it and have the time to do it. And looking back, obviously, you know, when they did it, it was a good break for Michelle and I to like do something or just get something done around the house. But I always appreciated their time and effort into my kids. They definitely helped them shape to where they are today. And I thank my mom. I'm sitting to Bill. So I just want to, I guess, end this with the relationship. With Bill and I's relationship, it was, you know, when they said they were getting, my mom said, "I'm going to be married." I'm like, "Oh boy, here we go." You know, like, he seemed like a nice guy, but you know, it was an interesting time for me, as being a teenager who didn't really probably respect his elders as much as I should have. And I was like, all right, well, good luck, you know, I was like, good luck. But he seemed like a nice guy, he had a great family. Thank God, he turned out really well. And it was a great thing. And once they got married, I think it was a different relationship that I really respected him a lot more, and I knew he was there, because I was kind of afraid he was going to just live with us and that was it. But he was very important in my life. Took me to a lot of places and learned a lot of things from him. Not just law stuff, which still helps to this day, but about life and about what's meaningful, and you know, travel and all kinds of stuff. And it's actually pretty cool that we've been hanging out a lot more in the past couple months. Obviously, I've been trying to get to trying to get over to their house a lot more to help out with Mom before she passed. And it was, you know, we've had some really nice talks, and I look forward to way more of those. And I just really want to end this by saying, you know, I really appreciate what you've done. Thank you, Mom. For being such a great husband, and for really being her rock. Because, as we all know, it was not a good, past couple of years. And I think I wasn't the only one who had my doubts that you were going to be able to take care of her. And you proved all was wrong. And I really thank you from the bottom of my heart. You were there with her the whole way. And I really don't know, if any other thing would have been better for her. I really deeply mean that, because we had some things going on, like I was like, this is a bad idea, we should, and you were like, no, I got this, and I was like, there's no way, and you totally proved us wrong. And I know she was happy to be with you the whole time, even up until the end when she wasn't talking. You can tell. Love you guys. People that are at home watching this later, I really do appreciate, how much, you were involved with my mom's life. And I hope Bill and I reflected some of those things today. And please keep us in your prayers. We keep you in our prayers. And I love you all. Thank you.
Thank Bill, thank Jack, everyone else for the words. We'll put it up on our website so people will be able to see it. This time we'll conclude our personal comments.